Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. Tom Ian's Women Behind Bars, the hilarious camp classic, which is set in the women's house of detention in Greenwich Village in the 1960s, has just begun streaming exclusively on Broadway HD. This star-studded, stellar production, which was directed by Scott Thompson, was filmed in front of a live audience and is hosted by Kathy Griffin. And I am joined by one of its stars. You know her from RuPaul's Drag Race, including the latest All-Star 6. Please say hello to Eureka.
Hey everybody, it's me, Kathy Griffin, and I am here backstage to introduce the opening night of the iconic Women Behind Bars. It's wrong and naughty, and you're gonna love it.
Welcome, Eureka. How are you?
I'm good. Richard, how are you?
I am great. First off, I see you're bumping around in there. Where are you and how are you?
I am wonderful. I'm actually in Chicago. I'm in an Uber on the way to the airport. I've been here the last couple of days helping my sisters at the Continental pageant. So now I'm headed back to LA. I've got work to do this weekend. You know, we're still working on We're Here. Yeah, just traveling, girl. Finally back to it, but doing it as safe as possible.
Well, I'll tell you, what a whirlwind year you have had. I mean, between Women Behind Bars and RuPaul's All-Star 6. But before we talk about some of those successes, you know, are you able to put into words what the past 17 months have meant to you, like when the pandemic began and how it progressed?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's been terrifying. It was emotional. It was a roller coaster, but also like, you know, very rewarding, educational. I learned so much about myself, about life, you know, what I really wanted out of life. Learned and gained a lot of patience because of all the time that was stagnant amongst all that. So yeah, it's just been a whirlwind, you know. But how lucky that I got to work. You know, I did get to film All Stars and things like that. So I've had some things I got to work on safely, but still limited work, you know.
But those are the things that kept you positive during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, just getting to work and getting to like look forward to this releasing and you know those things. Work is what keeps me positive anyway, you know. So especially during the pandemic, still having some stuff to do was very rewarding.
Well, congratulations on Women Behind Bars. As you can see, this is one of my favorite
Ha
plays.
ha ha!
As you look behind me, I've got the original from the Astor Playhouse.
Yes.
Divine behind me. I mean, you know, I'm such a huge fan of Tom Ian and, of course, of Divine. What did being a part of this production, what made it so special for you, Eureka?
You know, it was really nostalgic, one, because obviously I love Divine. I love getting to play a character that she had played before, but also working alongside some of these iconic characters that I also love from John Waters films like Tracy Lords and Mink Stole. And, you know, getting to also work hand in hand with Coco Peru, who's also an incredible talent. My sisters, Chi Chi DeVane, God rest her soul, you know, Ginger Minge. So many amazing, Christopher Poppy, Alvin, Susie Kennedy, like the whole cast was just incredible, honestly. And Tatiana Monteiro, I think that's all of them. Did I name them all?
I
I hope so.
did.
I don't, I don't want to miss anybody because they were all just great. It was just working alongside this cast, the passion behind it. Scott Thompson was so in love with being able to put this story out there in the best way they could, considering the times. You know, we don't have productions like this anymore, so that's what was so fun about it. It's old comedy, you know, and people are so afraid to do these types of productions anymore, and it's time to, you know, not worry so much about um, the political correctness of art because it's art, right? I think if it's done in a respectful and loving way, then it can still be appropriate. I think that's what was so magical about doing this project is it's still appropriate and it's relevant, and I can go on and on. I love it so much.
I mean, you talk about this incredible cast. I mean, when I read the cast and
Hmm.
then I saw it, I was like, wow, this is the best of the theater world, the drag world, the John Waters world. I mean, What was like that first read through like when you were all at the table or whatever, and you're all in that room and you're like, I'm sure you would awe of half these people. What was that like?
Ooh. Honestly, it was a little intimidating at first, because you want to really like show out and look good, especially in front of people you look up to. But everyone was just so sweet and humble and family and just excited that it just eased off. It was the pressure eased after the first read through. It was just natural.
What was it like living in the crazy and campy world of Tom Iron and Women Behind Bars?
It was interesting, because especially as the matron, you kind of have to become this little bit of a sadistic character that I think is misunderstood. I see the heart in, or well, the lack of heart in the matron, but there's so much pain in this character too. It was really just, I don't know, trying to portray the fact that like there is a little pain and misunderstanding in the matron, but also such a huge representation of like the evil of people and how angry people can become over time when they live in pain. I feel like the matron is a very painful character and a representation of pain to me, like in what people become through trauma and through the lack of love. And, there's so many things. So I think that's what was so interesting is like the stories and the underlying like elements compared to real life struggles. And I think John Waters and Tom Ian and people like that really was good at creating rebellious, also somewhat, I don't know, just creating art that was making fun of and picking at the things that everyone was afraid to talk about. You know what I mean? And the elements of our society that causes pain and fear and needs to create change. But this is a way to take power back and some of it. And so that's what was cool about it. I just think Tom Ian's a genius.
But then there's the comedy and the comedy side of it. I mean, your comic timing
Yeah.
is brilliant. So I was like balance.
Aw.
Yeah, well, I mean it. Listen, I've seen Divine do this. I saw Pat Ask do this originally. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so what was it like the first time you put it up in front of a live audience and like just waiting for the laughs and just finding the matron and doing her in front of an audience?
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. It was terrifying. The first show is always terrifying, I feel, in any production. But you use those nerves and that fear, and that's what creates, passionate art, really. You take the energy and you put it into the performance. So it was just amazing. Like the more people laughed at it and the more excited they were, the more fun it was to, bounce around and run around and scream as the matron. You know what I mean? And dry hump the air and try to get everyone in the audience just a little turned on, in that like torture scene of like the sexual innuendo element. I mean, it's fun, but it's also just exciting to feel
Yeah.
the energy of the crowd. It was amazing, actually.
Okay, now back to the cast again. I mean, you had Mink Stoll, who, of course, not only worked with John Waters, but of course worked with
Hmm.
Divine. I mean, did she share some stories with you? I mean, during rehearsals or whatever, about what it was like being around Divine and getting to know her?
Yeah, a little bit. Mink loves to talk, and she has so many stories to tell. And she just talked about, the art of how Divine would never really complain and just do just about anything John wanted him to do, and would love to just pull out a pie or a cake and eat it during break and offer some to anyone. And just the fun energy that they had and spent together. And Mink's stories are definitely her, so I won't tell any detailed stories, but I got to learn a lot, about what they went through and how much fun they had on set, but also how, even though they weren't taken seriously, it was so serious to them. It was their way of life. So, and they were going to do it regardless of what anyone said. And look at them now.
Right. Okay, we have to talk about Scott Thompson. Again, a big shout out to him because he's really done such a beautiful job. This was such a mammoth production, yet he made this his own. So, what makes him such a great director?
I think the great direction really came from his knowledge, honestly, of what he wanted. He had a clear vision. And I think that he was very direct with his cast and his direction as far as like rehearsal. And also, I think just him understanding the project, and what it means and how it sounds and what it's supposed to represent. I think that he was just well versed in the topic and in the production and the play and the people that had played it, what he wanted as far as a full vision. I mean, I think that's what makes a great director in general is being smart. You know, he was very intelligent when producing and directing this.
I mean, what's also great about this was only supposed to be 2 weekends. I mean, you put this big production up, and then all of a sudden it was filmed. It's now exclusively airing on Broadway HD all around the world. I
Hmm.
mean, what does that mean to you?
It means everything, you know, because we put so the productions like this, plays, musicals, theater live production takes so much effort because unlike TV, there's no opportunity to fix mistakes. What happens is how it happens in the moment. And it's something that's not normally preserved. And we got to preserve this because we, you know, Chi Devane passed away. So truthfully, we will never be able to have this cast again. It will never be able to be produced in the same way. We can try, but it won't, you know. So we'll forever have this, you know, for the rest of our lives, and the world will get to see it. You know, it was such an interesting time because it was at the, you know, the pandemic was just about to hit. The production dates were all over the place because the theater, and we had a short amount of time to rehearse, and it came together so beautifully. So the fact that we got to capture it is really the reward.
Yeah, because I was going to say, with people, you have fans all around the world now because of RuPaul's Drag Race and everything else. I mean, now anybody around the world can watch this in the comfort of their own home over and over. And you're going to introduce yourselves to a lot of
Ooh,
people because of this. How does that make you feel?
it makes me feel good. I mean, it makes me feel proud. It makes me excited about the future. You know, it makes me excited about the people I'm going to get to meet and work with because of you know, a pat on from this. So it's just exciting. You know.
Yeah. What was the biggest pinch me moment of being on the set or something that happened during rehearsal or something during Women Behind Bars? I mean, what can you tell our audience?
You know, I think the pinch me of above all is probably getting so close to Tracy Lords. I've always looked up to her and loved her work. So like, you know, going to lunch and just being buddies and texting and chatting with each other was that's a pinch me moment. You know, I still hear from her. You know, I'm friends with the Beat It Creep lady, you know, with the icon Tracy Lords from Crybaby and all these other motion pictures and EastEnders, and she's just a wonderful person. So I think that's the pinch me moment is getting to meet and work with her.
I think that would be the same thing for me too, because we wanted to meet Tracy for the longest time. And I was like, oh my God,
Hmm.
Eureka and all of them got to work with the Tracy Lord on this thing.
Exactly.
Growing up early on, where did your love for the theater begin and what were your earliest creative outlets?
Yeah, I think my love for the theater began probably middle school, but especially high school. But as soon as I was really introduced to it, you know, it's creativity. I was actually kind of a quiet kid, surprisingly, but I was just, you know, I was always the bigger kid. I was always the super sensitive kid. I would try to get people to like me, so I would be funny and try to be creative and theatrical just in my living, right? By making people laugh, and that's kind of where it started. Was it was my way to be social, and it was my way to create engagement with other kids when I kind of felt like an outcast, but it was a way for me to connect with people. And then also TV and film and watching theater productions online and going to the Barter Theater where I was from. Those were the places that I escaped my, you know, my kind of wallflower existence at the time. You know, being bigger, overly feminine, in a small town in East Tennessee, I was very noticeable. But I
Yeah.
also was, you know, had limited connections and friendships and stayed to myself. And so those were my ways to escape some of that bullying and the harshness of society and my peers was, you know, watching these productions or being creative or being funny to make them laugh. And those were things that made people like enjoy me or admire me. So it helped like bridge the gap of that discomfort from bullies or people being negative to me, or, you know, maybe just me not being confident either. I was confident playing a character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where drag came from for me too, really, is like I've grown my confidence through my characters and my acting and my, you know, performing.
Because, a lot of people know you as a drag artist, one of the best drag artists. But what's great about watching you in Women Behind
Aw.
Bars, I saw you as an actor. Am I losing you with your, am I losing your Wi-Fi?
It's my passion, it's my goal in life. I didn't, like Divine, really, I didn't expect to become infamous or famous just by doing drag. Acting and being a part of TV and film, it was my dreams before I really even knew what drag was. So drag has just been a way for me to gain success, and I love that art form. But acting is my passion, and then the fact that I got to do it and do it for real, like in a more professional setting as an adult, because I did it a lot growing up. But this was my first like real Hollywood acting experience, getting to act at a theater in Hollywood at the Montalban with an iconic cast. Like, it was a dream come true. So it makes me tear up thinking about it sometimes. I remember when it was over and getting to watch it the first time, it was so emotional because I was like, what, oh my God, I'm an actor. This is crazy. It's so cool, and I was good. That's the biggest fear is like, are you going to watch it and hate it? But no, I watched it and loved it. I loved watching myself, and it gave me confidence to want to do more.
Oh no, you're phenomenal in this, just so you know. You've always been phenomenal, but it was so great to see the crossover. So this is just the beginning for you as a theater, film, and TV artist, just so
Oh,
you know that.
I love you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you are also known to millions of fans worldwide from your numerous seasons on RuPaul's Drag Race, and most recently from All Star 6, being one of the top Final Four. What did being a part of those shows mean to you personally and professionally?
Well, personally, it gave me success. It was my also a dream of mine to have success in drag. I love drag. It's my therapeutic outlet creatively. It's given me confidence. It's paid my bills. It's, made me feel glamorous and beautiful when I didn't. It taught me how to be sexy. It taught me how to feel sexy. It saved my life, more or less. And honestly, doing those shows has just prepared me more for the professional industry because the thing about those shows is there's all these challenges. And weirdly, all the challenges are like this, it's almost like an education because there's so many elements. You host, you do comedy, you act, you do runways, you create costumes. Every element of theater and performance is a part of this competition. And, this is the third time I've done it, second time getting to do it full out. But I've just learned so much as a professional from the show, how to carry myself, things about the industry I wouldn't have known before. It's been really like, and it's been my education in this industry. So now I'm ready to move into a higher, more professional setting as far as like more serious acting, more serious roles, more acting roles versus reality television. Although my heart will always be in reality TV, I can't wait to get to, cross over into more acting roles in theater and things like that.
Well, I hope you know that you have done this every week in front of millions and millions of people. Like, you've auditioned in front of millions of people.
Yeah.
You can accomplish anything now. I hope you know that.
Oh, I love that, and I kind of do know that. I think that well, in a humble way, of course, but I believe in myself. It's been
Yeah.
nice to watch myself, but I believe in myself. I think that's
And
the first step.
yeah, but that's the big step too. And being a part of the Final Four, I mean, first you were and then you were. I mean, how
I
did you
know.
how did you stay so focused and calm?
I just because I used to think winning was everything, and I would love to win, but I learned from not winning so much in my life that winning isn't everything and it's not the answer and it doesn't fix anything. So I just try to take things one day at a time, and I take my real emotions that I'm going through in that moment, and I've just learned how to process them myself. So I think that's how I was able to stay calm or excited and moving forward is because it's like, just because I didn't win doesn't mean I didn't do a great job. And I was there and I got to stay and come back. And even if I would have went home when they sent me that time, I was ready. And of course, as soon as they said, "Oh, you can lip sync your way back in," I took off running to get ready because I'm never going to miss an opportunity, but I'm not going to take an opportunity away from anybody else. So anyone that was able to stay and I wasn't, if I would have acted a fool, then it would have just taken away from someone else's, opportunity. Like I deserved it more than them, but I don't. I deserve what's mine.
I like the way you put everything into perspective, but like I said, you say about being a winner, you're a winner to so many people because there are so many young fans, millions of
Hmm.
young fans who look up to, who watch Drag Race and look up to you, queer people, trans people, you represent them on television and now on stage and TV. What does that honor and that responsibility mean to you, Eureka?
Well, and I think that's why, maybe winning the competition of RuPaul's Drag Race wasn't like an end all be all for me, because I do already feel like a winner, because that was the goal. Is if I'm gonna do this, I want to do it at its highest level, and I'm already doing it. But then also, like, the fact that I have people that look up to me or that I need to be responsible for as far as performing and staying positive and working hard is what keeps me going. You know what I mean? As much as as much as I encourage or am giving to, I guess, my fans, things like that, I get so much in return. You know what I mean? Because before I lived life for my mother, and or just for the fun of it or whatever. But now my professional career is based off of how I feel responsible for all these people that look up to me. It gives me a purpose. It gives me a reason to get up in the morning. It gives me a reason to love what I do, because it helps other people. I've always been a caregiver. I've always been a helper. Growing up, I would help my mom or my grandmother, or, take care of my family. It was just the way I was raised. So, I just truly feel like if you're going to do anything in this world, if you're not able to help others, there's no point. So it's what keeps me existing, I guess, and thriving, is the fact that I get to be responsible for being that for other people. But really, they're that for me, because without them, I wouldn't want to keep working so hard on this. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't keep doing it. So it's pointless if you don't have anyone loving what you're doing. I think, especially, I mean, of course, I love it too. I don't know. I love to ramble. So, girl, I can talk forever.
No, I love it. I was going to ask you if you could come to New York in a show like a classic Broadway musical or play, besides the one you just did. Is there a dream role you have on your plate?
I think, well, I think I have probably dream roles in and out of drag. I
Okay.
think my dream role in drag would probably be Ursula. Of course, she's the big. I've always wanted to play Ursula on stage. And then I think out of drag, I would love to do like Into the Woods is one of my favorite musicals, or like Sweeney Todd. I mean, I know those are little two variances that are different. Or the line. I mean, I don't know. I'll do any out of drag. But I think Into the Woods, I did it in high school. It was my favorite production I've ever done. I was able to play the wolf and the prince, and I would love to get to do it again.
These are great roles. I love this. You get a chance to do one in drag and outside of drag.
I would
But
love that.
okay, my final question is, what do you hope audiences will take away after watching Women Behind Bars?
I think that I hope audiences take away that I think just the idea of dark humor should still exist. I think that this style of performance and storytelling is really important for the comedy world, to make sure that it stays relevant and alive. Um, and that comedy is all about taking the stereotypes and the things that are really messed up in the world and causing laughter from it, taking that pain and making us laugh about it so that we can get over it, so that we can be stronger than it. That's what I hope people take from it. I hope people take from it like how important dark comedy can be, and how important it is to the comedic world. I think that's what it is for me.
Well, listen, I want to thank you. This is the first StreamYard interview that I have done with my guest in a car or something on the way to the airport. So I want to thank you for that.
I know. Well, I love you for it. Thank you for your patience.
Well, stay with me for a second. I want to remind our audience once again that Eureka is one of the stars of director Scott Thompson's star-studded production of Tom Ian's camp classic Women Behind Bars, which is now streaming exclusively on Broadway HD, the leading streaming service for everything theater. Eureka, thank you so much for dropping by at Broadway World and sitting with me today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. I am so excited to be here. How are you, Richard? I can't wait to be here again in the future when we're doing even more productions with you guys.
Well, like
Thank
I said,
you.
when you come to New York, I will take you out to dinner, okay?
I'm ready for it. Absolutely.
Go to the airport. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. Watch Women Behind Bars. Take care, everyone.